There's a suit that costs $50,000, requires 50 hours of handwork, and you'd walk right past it on the street without a second glance. And in July 2025, one of the brands that makes it was placed under judicial administration for labor exploitation, but we'll get to that. Mark Zuckerberg runs one of the most valuable companies in human history. He does it, according to fashion journalists who have documented his wardrobe in detail, in a plain gray t-shirt, specifically a Brunello Cucinelli cashmere t-shirt that costs $400 and looks, from any reasonable distance, identical to a $15 basic. Nobody in the room knows. That is the point. This is the real story of what a suit can be at the highest level. And it starts with understanding how genuine wealth actually dresses. It does not announce itself. It does not carry a logo you would recognize from 10 feet away. It has deliberately removed every visual cue you have been trained to read as expensive and replaced them with something far more impenetrable. Quality so exceptional it requires a trained hand to detect from brands you have almost certainly never walked past in a mall. This is not minimalism as an aesthetic. This is a system, a deliberate, considered, and very old system for separating people who need to signal wealth from people who have stopped caring whether you notice. Here is what that system actually looks like. The logos you associate with wealth are not what the genuinely wealthy wear. Gucci, Versace, Louis Vuitton monograms. These are what people wear when they are communicating upward, trying to buy into a world they aspire to. The genuinely wealthy have a different problem. They are trying to stop being read entirely. Fashion writers who track billionaire wardrobes have documented Jeff Bezos's preference for Brunello Cucinelli cashmere, describing it in published reports as a near obsession. Brunello Cucinelli is an Italian brand founded in 1978 in a medieval village called Solomeo near Perugia. The founder restored the village, built an outdoor theater, opened an artisan school, capped the workday at 5 o'clock, and allocates 20% of the company's annual profits to charitable causes, according to the brand's published figures. He pays workers 20% above the Italian industry standard. A simple Brunello Cucinelli cashmere sweater costs between 500 and 1,500 pounds. A sport coat runs 3,000. No visible logo on any of it. Think about that for a second. Bezos, worth north of $200 billion, is wearing a sweater you could pass on the street and mistake for a good department store buy. That is not an accident. Observers of Zuckerberg's wardrobe have noted his use of Loro Piana base layers, plain and logo-less, worn beneath whatever else he has on. Loro Piana is a Piedmontese brand founded in 1837 that LVMH absorbed in 2013. It makes some of the finest cashmere and wool in the world, but its most prized product is not cashmere, it is vicuna. And here's where it gets strange. Vicuna is a fiber that comes from a wild South American camelid living at high altitude in the Andes in the Peruvian highlands. The fleece it produces measures around 12.5 microns in diameter, finer than the finest cashmere. It can only be shorn once every 3 years. The animal cannot be domesticated. For centuries, the Inca considered vicuna sacred and reserved the fiber exclusively for royalty. You could not wear it unless you were a king. Loro Piana now owns the exclusive global commercial rights to vicuna fiber. The brand has invested in conservation programs that brought the species back from near extinction. A Loro Piana vicuna overcoat sells for between $30,000 and $50,000. It carries no logo. Nothing on the outside of the coat tells you what it is. Nothing that most people would recognize. This is the system working at full speed. The billionaire is wearing fiber once reserved for Inca royalty. You walk past him in an airport lounge and register nothing unusual. He looks like a man in a nice tan coat. Think of it as the real-life version of what HBO's Succession made famous. The Loro Piana baseball cap that signals everything to the people who know, and nothing to everyone else. The tailoring side of this world operates on the same logic, taken to an almost irrational extreme. Kiton is a Neapolitan house founded in 1956 by a tailor named Ciro Paione. In the view of serious students of menswear, it is among the most accomplished ready-to-wear suit houses in existence. A Kiton suit starts at around $8,000. Bespoke work exceeds $30,000. But those numbers are not the most important ones. The important number is 50. Kiton's signature K50 suit requires 50 hours of handwork by master tailors in Naples. According to the brand, it limits annual production to 50 pieces worldwide, 50 suits a year. The fabric, a Super 200s wool, at the very top of a grading system, where higher numbers indicate finer, more expensive fiber, is among the finest commercially woven cloth available. For context, most quality off-the-rack suits use Super 120s or Super 150s. Super 200s is a different conversation entirely. The suit moves with you, does not crease, does not fight you, and tells no one who made it. That effortless drape, incidentally, comes from full canvas construction, where a layer of horsehair canvas is hand-stitched through the entire chest of the jacket, allowing it to mold to your body over time. Fused suits, which use glue instead, cannot do that. Luxury analysts who study this market note that many ultra-wealthy men own Kiton suits and never mention the brand to anyone. That invisibility, they say, is the entire point. If you know, you know. You can actually spot a Kiton suit from a few feet away if you know what to look for. There is a deliberate gather at the shoulder seam, a Neapolitan technique called spalla camicia, the shirt shoulder. It looks to an untrained eye like a small error, a slight pucker, a ripple that should not be there. It takes a master tailor years to learn how to create that imperfection correctly. The more seamless a Kiton shoulder looks, the less it costs. The flaw is the tell. The flaw is the point. Kiton is not alone in Naples. Cesare Ottolini, another legendary Neapolitan house, operates on a similar philosophy: extraordinary handwork, the same soft shoulder construction, nothing on the label you would recognize from a department store window. Between Kiton and Ottolini, Naples makes a strong argument for being the most important place on earth for a suit. Further up the Italian peninsula, in Rome and Milan, Brioni and Ermenegildo Zegna operate in similar quiet luxury territory, though with different construction philosophies, Brioni leaning toward Roman formality, Zegna toward contemporary refinement. And Savile Row in London offers its own counter-tradition, where Naples softens and drapes, the best Savile Row houses, cut with a precision that is almost architectural. The Row and Savile Row are both answering the same question. They just have different accents. Now here is where the comfortable version of this story ends. The two brands that define billionaire dressing, the ones that appear in every serious discussion of what genuine wealth actually wears, are Loro Piana and Brunello Cucinelli. Both have positioned themselves on craft, authenticity, and something close to ethical production. Brunello Cucinelli has made humanistic capitalism his phrase, the explicit philosophy of his brand. Loro Piana built its identity on fiber so rare and precious that conservation of the animal producing it is part of the story. In July 2025, a Milan court placed Loro Piana under judicial administration. A 26-page ruling, reviewed by Glossy magazine and reported by Reuters and multiple wire services, detailed how the brand had routed production through a front company called Evergreen Fashion Group to unregistered Chinese-run workshops in Lombardy. Workers in those workshops were found to be working up to 90 hours a week, 7 days a week, for approximately $4 an hour. One worker had been physically assaulted by his employer after demanding roughly $12,000 in unpaid wages, according to Reuters reporting from July 2025. Loro Piana became the fifth Italian luxury house to fall under court oversight in what prosecutors described as a widening crackdown on worker exploitation in the fashion supply chain. By December 2025, Milan prosecutors had issued document demands to 13 more brands, including Gucci, Prada, Versace, Dolce & Gabbana, Ferragamo, Alexander McQueen, Givenchy, and Yves Saint Laurent, according to an Associated Press report based on judicial documents at the time. The brand, whose coats are made from fiber reserved for Inca kings, was, in the same year, paying the workers who made those coats $4 an hour. Let that sit for a moment. None of this changes how the system functions. It only changes what the system means. A private wealth manager who published her observations on billionaire dressing patterns in early 2026 described watching clients walk into portfolio reviews in what appeared to be plain gray sweaters only to realize up close that they were Brunello Cucinelli cashmere. The visual signal, she wrote, is working exactly as designed. The wealth is detectable only through proximity, through touch, through the kind of trained attention that takes years to develop. What separates genuinely wealthy dressers from people performing wealth, in her framing, is not the net worth figure. It is the direction the clothing points. Loud branding communicates outward toward a crowd you want to impress. Stealth wealth communicates inward toward a small circle who already understand and nobody else. The footwear follows the same logic. Todd's loafers, Berluti derbies, Loro Piana suede driving shoes, nothing on a billboard, everything in the construction. That same wealth manager noted that some of her wealthiest clients wear 7-year-old loafers that still look immaculate because they have been resoled and polished with near religious consistency. The shoes are not new, they are better than new. That distinction, that willingness to invest in quality and then maintain it across decades is itself a tell that money does not fix for you. There is one final layer to this that the stealth wealth conversation almost always leaves out. The billionaire uniform is not purely an aesthetic choice, it is a cognitive one. Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck, a design made for him by Japanese designer Issey Miyake, because he had decided that clothing was a solved problem. Zuckerberg has spoken publicly about his rotation of identical gray t-shirts in the same terms. Eliminating daily clothing decisions preserved mental energy for decisions that actually mattered. Obama reduced his suit rotation to 2 colors, navy and gray, for the same reason. The uniform sends a message. It says this person's attention is on something other than appearance management. The irony is that achieving that effect costs more than almost anything in most wardrobes. A $400 cashmere t-shirt that looks like a $15 one is not cheap. It is expensive, specifically in the service of looking like you have better things to think about. There is a date worth watching here. The European Union's forced labor regulation comes into effect in 2027. It bans the sale, within the EU, of goods produced using forced labor at any stage of the supply chain. Italian legislators are simultaneously drafting a new domestic bill to regulate the made-in-Italy supply chain more precisely, according to WWD reporting from January 2026. The brands that have spent decades building identities around invisible quality, European craftsmanship, and ethical production now face legally enforceable pressure to prove it at every level. The quiet luxury veil has been lifting since July 2025. When the K50 suit requires 50 hours of handwork in Naples, by 2027 that handwork will need to be verifiably happening in Naples. The billionaires wearing these brands as proof they understand real quality are going to need the brands to prove it back.